Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video you're going to have some Division 10 online ranked gameplay. We're going to be in the lightweight division for this fight, using Justin Gaethje facing a Conor McGregor, and I believe the opponent I'm coming up against is going to be in Division 12, so they're 2 divisions higher, so I knew it was going to be a good fight. And my opponent's going to be using Conor McGregor, I believe, and with Justin Gaethje you've got the ability to control the fight on the ground as well as the feet, and knowing this, coming up against the McGregor, who throughout 1 and 2 he's got the out the gates perk, so consumes less stamina around the 1 and 2, and he's more likely to get a finish in round 1 and 2 if my opponent's got good enough striking. So knowing that, I'm probably going to opt to take the fight to the ground and control my opponent. I mean, Justin Gaethje's got relatively good ground and pound and good submissions, so I'd feel comfortable on the ground. So it's something I'm going to look for, but when starting the first round, I'm going to see the patterns of my opponent. I'm going to see how he strikes, see if I have the advantage on the feet, and if I don't feel like I have the advantage, or I feel that I could work in my grappling more to give me the advantage, that's what I'm going to do, because in these 3-round fights you can't afford not to win these rounds. I mean, obviously you have to win two rounds to win the decision, or you have to finish your opponent, so that's something you've got to bear in mind, and it's something that I'm very conscious about. If I lose round 1, that the next 2 I have to win, or I look for the finish. And here I'm just seeing how my opponent's exchanging with me. My opponent's using distance management well, pushing me away and not letting me push him towards the fence, but as you can see here, we managed to push my opponent towards the fence, and I'm unloading a bit, looking to potentially land an uppercut to stun my opponent, but my opponent's doing a good job of covering up. He's not utilising head movement very well, he's just absorbing the strikes with the block at the moment, which is fine because the fight's just started, so his block health is going to be good. But that's something I've taken note of, that the longer this fight goes on, the more damage is going to be done to his block. As you can see there, I sway to the left and hit a beautiful takedown, and I'm looking to control my opponent here. And what you want to do from this position is you always want to pre-deny the side you don't want your opponent going to. For instance, I did not want my opponent to end up on top, so I denied that. When I get to full mount, I don't want my opponent to get up, so I pre-denied that. So that's how I get these deniers off. I just base it off where I don't want my opponent to be in, what position I think is most advantageous to my opponent is the one I deny, and often or not that always works out very well. And here I'm looking to maintain my opponent in this position. As you can see, I'm doing little increments of damage, and I'm unloading when I can. And the main thing is just being very patient, because my opponent's against the cage here, so he can get up fairly easily. So I'm looking to stay in half guard and not in full guard. And as you can see, I'm looking to drain my opponent's stamina slowly and surely. I'm going into posture up from half guard where possible. Now I'm looking to unload and do as much damage as possible. As you can see, my opponent's not doing the best job of getting up right now, but he's also not absorbing too many significant strikes, so he's doing a good job. I'm denying the transitions quite well. My opponent's not really faking the transitions to get up. And as you can see, denying another transition. So I've controlled him for quite a while now. Again, my opponent tries to get up, so I'm learning the patterns. From here, rather than posture up, I go into side control, and my opponent does a good job of getting out. I thought I denied that in time, but evidently I didn't. Now my opponent's got me towards the cage, which is fine because I've dominated pretty much most of this round. And he goes for the head kick there to see if he can do any damage, the spinning heel kick, and he manages to get the stun, which is annoying, but you know, facing a Conor McGregor, it's not going to take much to get a stun off. And as you can see from the stats there, I had 2 minutes and 18 seconds of control time, so I was feeling fairly confident that I had that round in the bag, and also that my opponent's grappling isn't the best. So knowing this, I'm going to look to go back to the ground, and as you see, my opponent stunned me and I shot for the takedown, which I normally don't advise because it's quite predictable and you can get hit with an uppercut which could finish you. However, my opponent didn't predict this, and it's ended up with me being on top, so this has at least relieved some of the pressure from me for the time being. Even if my opponent gets up now, I've got past that little flurry of where my opponent stunned me. So I'm leaving to fight another day essentially, because after he got that stun it wouldn't have taken much to get a knockdown. So here, ideally I'm looking to get this fight onto the ground as soon as possible. I don't really want to stand. As you can see, I'm using my head movement to avoid these big punches. The game was lagging a little bit, which didn't help, but it's something that you just have to deal with. As you can see, I go through the turning takedown here because I noticed he hasn't been denying the turning takedowns very well, and we've ended up in half guard again where I can do some work, and I'm looking to keep my opponent here for the rest of the round ideally, get my control up and look to land significant strikes where possible. My opponent does a good job there of getting me into full guard, and here I don't really want to be in my opponent's full guard, but you know, as long as it's not on the feet at the moment, because we're not having much luck on the feet, I don't mind where we are on the ground. Even if my opponent's on top, I can look for the submission. So here I'm just throwing little strikes, seeing how my opponent reacts, and my opponent does my opponent nearly done a good job of getting to full guard. I remember that one was quite hard to deny. We end up getting to top mount here, and my opponent doesn't go for the get up, which he's been going for consistently, so he's learned not to go for that because I'll deny it. As you can see, when I can, I'm going to posture up in half guard and try to deliver some devastating blows to break my opponent's block. And as you can see, I'm always throwing little punches to build up my GA, so it's easier to deny my opponent's transitions and easier for me to posture up and look for strikes myself. Opponent does a good job there, getting me to full guard, and then my opponent uses the cage to get up, which is a very useful thing to do. I see my opponent's stamina's low, so I take my opponent's back, and I'm looking to deny my opponent getting into my full guard here, but he does a good job of it. And now that he is in my full guard and there's around a minute left, I'm looking to deny a transition and go for an armbar, which is what I do so here because I could see my opponent's stamina was low. And as you can see, with this armbar, the main thing is you want to avoid the slam, you want to press the button before they do, so that's what I look to do here, and we managed to do it. And as you can see by the bars at the bottom, the submission is getting closer and closer to getting locked in, and when it comes to the throw strikes, you get a little bit of a boost. And as you can see here, I'm now going to submit my opponent using the armbar, and this just shows how diverse Justin Gaethje's game plans can be. He's got very good submissions, a very good stand-up. Unfortunately, we got the submission win against Conor McGregor. The stats and scorecards are going to come up so you can see how the fight was scored up until that point. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.